Hello, everyone. I had a different topic in mind for today. I was going to talk about something a little bit more serious, and I decided I wanted to put a little bit more time and effort into it, so I'm going to do that next week. And today, this is just kind of a filler video, but this is still something I'm passionate about. Um, and I just saw a post on Instagram even after I decided to cover this topic that I actually think is pretty relevant. So I'm going to read it. It says, "The more you heal, the less you see attention as affection, attachment as connection, codependency as support, disagreement as an attack, enmeshment as intimacy, lack of boundaries as empathy, external validation as internal self love, and trauma bonding as healing." So, what that basically means to me is we tend to forget what it actually means to take care of ourselves. And I think a lot of people think that they're setting boundaries, but in reality, they're just giving friendly suggestions that don't really have any follow through if those suggestions are not heeded. A boundary is inherently coming with consequences. You're saying, you know, I need you to do this, and if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen. For example, let's say someone is continuously trying to talk to you and you do not want to talk to them. You say, "Listen, man, I don't want to talk to you. Please stop trying to talk to me. If you continue to try to talk to me, I'm going to go somewhere else, somewhere that you will not be able to find me." And then they say, "Okay, okay, I won't keep trying to talk to you. I get it." And then they stop. Or they try again. And then you follow through. You actually go somewhere that they can't find you. But unfortunately, most people will not even say that. They won't give an ultimatum of any kind. They'll just say, "Please stop, you're annoying me." And then it gets disrespected and the person continues to annoy them. And then they just allow it. They're just like, "Well, I guess there's nothing I can do." Um, and I think boundaries are really one of the key issues that we have in the world in general, is that people don't know how to set boundaries and keep them, and people don't know how to respect other people's boundaries. So it's a huge issue on both sides. And a personal example of this, I posted a video a few it was a little about a month ago, I think, where I defended a YouTuber that is being canceled, and people have already kind of moved on to a new person that's being canceled. Now it's Lizzo, and I don't really have any thoughts on that. I don't know anything about Lizzo, but if I'm being completely honest, I don't really see it any differently. I feel like it's just the same rinse and repeat cycle of just, somebody gets accused of something, everyone all of a sudden thinks that they're going to be really self-righteous and judgmental, but they're not actually helping anyone. What they're not focused on is helping to share healing and positive information that might help prevent things like this from happening in the future. They're not focused on helping the victims. They're literally only focused on negativity and drama and gossip, and they like to attack and bully people. Now, I haven't paid close enough attention to the Lizzo situation to see if there is bullying going on, but I know that she is definitely having her reputation run through the mud. And given what she was accused of, I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense, um, but we still really don't know anything about it. It's really just an accusation, and it's it's not like comparable to the other situation where there were screenshots. Um, but even still, it's like way too invasive. I mean, you really need to be able to hear accusations on their own and just say, "You know what? Maybe this person isn't everything I thought they were. Maybe this celebrity that I was looking up to isn't really someone to look up to. Maybe I had a little bit of an unhealthy connection to them," and and just leave it at that, because the truth is people have all sorts of unhealthy relationships, whether it be with a celebrity or with, someone in their own family, or just even a friendship. I mean, there's all sorts of unhealthy dynamics going on because of a lack of boundaries. And I think that's what the issue is here, is that people feel entitled to um, to these people's time and attention. And I don't think they even think of it as that. It's just that they're so focused on blaming, which I think in my original video defending Colleen Ballinger, I talked about how people deflect and people like to judge and blame others instead of looking inward. And that is still just as relevant as ever. You know, I've gotten so many comments on that video and the sequel that I made, which was honestly just a place for people to leave comments when I had the comments disabled on the original video. And that was my boundary. I was saying, hey, I don't feel like listening to all of your negativity right now, and it doesn't matter if it's valid. The fact is, I don't owe you an explanation. And this is something that I've come to realize is true in a lot of different ways. And I've seen a lot of examples of this just in general. I just watched a TV show and realized that this was kind of an underlying theme. And it's like everywhere you look, people are just disrespecting your boundaries and feeling entitled to your time, your energy. And the truth is that you don't owe people an explanation. No one is entitled to know what you're doing, to know why you're doing it. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. You don't have to explain who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, why you like what you're doing, whatever it is. It's your business, and you are entitled to mind it just as everyone else is entitled to mind their business. And, you know, there is a difference between loving someone and being curious about what's going on in their lives versus feeling entitled to know everything that's going on in their lives. And you know, the latter is just invasive and disrespectful. I can understand if a loved one wants to know what's going on in my life, wants to understand, wants an explanation, but there's a difference between wanting it and feeling entitled to it. Even if I do understand why they want it, that still doesn't mean I owe it to them. I still don't have to tell them anything. And I think that is a huge misconception because a lot of people feel like they do have to explain themselves all the time and they do have to, you know, think about what other people think of them. And when people say things to you, their words stick with you. They live rent free in your head. And I don't even know that it is rent free because it clearly is costing you quite a bit. But then people fight and they get in arguments and they try and defend themselves, and it just turns into this huge mess that doesn't really go anywhere or accomplish anything, but we do it anyway because we feel like we have to. And that person clearly felt entitled to our time. They felt like just because we confused them, that meant we owed them an explanation. Well, I'm sorry, when you go out into the world, you're gonna see confusing things. You're gonna see confusing people. Not everyone is gonna do what you're familiar with. And that doesn't mean that all of a sudden that person has to stop what they're doing and explain themselves to you. Otherwise, they're a bad person. This is why we need to focus on learning about who we are instead of judging other people. Because the sad reality is, if everyone did that, there wouldn't be any reason to judge other people. Because healed people hear differently, and hurt people hurt people. When you have unhealed trauma, when you have shadow work that you haven't done, you know, just things that you haven't faced your demons, just things going on inside of you that you haven't looked at, you're afraid to look at, you don't want to face what's actually there. Because you're judging yourself. You've been brought up to have a judgmental mentality. It when you think this way, it makes it harder to look at yourself. And when you're not looking at yourself, you're just going to find yourself looking at other people and trying to distract yourself from yourself. And that's when you end up saying insulting things. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand cynical mentalities. I know the world is filled with really dark things and terrible decisions that have been made, and dangerous, hurtful systems that we've created that take advantage of each other. And um, all sorts of people who do terrible things, and it is very easy to look at it all and just be disgusted by it and feel like, oh my god, this is horrible. And then you kind of start to feel a little bit hopeless, and that hopelessness festers and it turns into a cynical mentality where you're bummed out and you're always judging everyone. You expect to see the worst in everyone. And you always are on the defense, and you forget to have empathy. You forget to think that we're all part of the same universe. We're all connected. We're all brothers and sisters. You forget to think about that, and then you just become so focused on feeling right about your worldview that everything is just kind of dark. And I think a lot of people have been eaten away by a self-righteous mentality. That's kind of one of the things that distracts people, is feeling like they've chosen the right side. One of the funny things is I think a lot of people see vegans that way, and there's kind of like a general popular opinion that vegans are like the most pretentious, self-righteous types of people. Um, and that is kind of what I'm seeing in general, is just like people who are acting like they've chosen this superior lifestyle, but in reality, they're still just people, and that doesn't give them a right to treat other people like they're not worthy of the same kind of respect. And I've noticed a ton of hypocrisy here and irony, um, because like with the Lizzo situation, one of the funniest things is that she's being accused of body shaming people, and she is someone who is being body shamed, and she's always promoted body positivity, and it's like it's ironic that she would be doing that and then also fat shaming people. But I wasn't there. I don't know what she did or didn't do. And even if there was evidence, that still doesn't give me a right to call her a bad person. Unfortunately, I think most celebrities, most influencers, most people who have a big platform, even if they're promoting something positive, unless you really know them, like they've been very intimate with you and very candid, given you a chance to really see their heart and their values, they're probably just really shallow and selfish and arrogant, because that is not only what happens when you become that successful, but that is what happens when you um, just exist nowadays. I feel like everyone has a little bit of an ego problem in that sense. And if we were actually willing to see that kind of behavior in any of the celebrities we look up to, we would see that it's everywhere and it's a real issue. Um, so it doesn't make Lizzo special, and that's even assuming that the allegations are true. Um, and I know it's more than that. You don't have to explain to me that it's not just the body shaming. I know that there's more going on. But Lizzo is not someone that I was ever really a fan of. She was just someone that I inevitably was aware of because everyone's heard Good as Hell, and I saw the Barbie movie, so she had a song in that. So I know she exists, and I know her name. I know what she looks like. I just don't know enough to actually make an assessment of her as a person. It doesn't surprise me because, most of the celebrities that I follow, I feel like they've been kind of candid and I have an idea of who they are and what their values are. And if they were accused of something like this, it actually would shock me, because it would run contrary to what I thought I knew about them. But I would still take it, you know, the same way that I would if like a friend was accused. I wouldn't just immediately jump to conclusions, but I would also be thinking, maybe I shouldn't be friends with this person. Um, and that's what we have to be willing to do. In the name of setting boundaries, I want to wrap this up. We have to be willing to look at even our closest friendships and relationships, anyone that we feel really strongly connected to, and say, is this actually a healthy dynamic? Is it mutual? Am I getting what I'm giving? Or is it one sided? Maybe I'm being taken advantage of. Maybe I'm just not being appreciated. Whatever it is, you have to ask yourself if this is really what you want and if this is really healthy for you. And if it isn't, that doesn't mean you have to hate your friend. That doesn't mean you have to be mean to your friend. It just means you have to say, you know what? I feel like this is a little bit of a one-sided friendship, and I just don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it. Therefore, I'm not going to put very much into it anymore. I will put as much into this as you are. Or you can just block them, remove them, whatever you want to do, whatever platform it is. You don't really owe them an explanation either. You know, if they feel entitled to an explanation, it's understandable that they would want one, but you don't owe it to them. And it's if they really want to know, they can try looking inward and ask themselves, what might I have done to cause this person to do this to me? And you will probably find an answer. But then just, do some reflection. It's it's always there. If someone just randomly blocks you, there it may be on them. They may just be, an a-hole, but it may also be something that you did. So just reflect and ask yourself, and you will know the answer. I really believe that we have access to the truth if we're just willing to quiet down all the noise and all the other emotions and just hear it like a still small voice. um, it's there. You just it's unemotional. It's not um, it's not like logical or emotional. It's just there, and you just know it. And you have to quiet down the other noise in your head, all your fears, your thoughts, your hopes, your dreams, your worries, whatever it is. Quiet it down, and you will hear the truth. And it's I know that it's not something you can just do in the blink of an eye, but it's worth working on, and it'll help you in learning how to trust yourself. And that is one of the key things to do in setting boundaries. The last thing that I want to talk about before I end this video was the reason that I decided to make it. I was thinking about some of the comments that I had received on my Colleen video, and I realized that people were really not respecting my boundaries at all. And yet I still found myself feeling like I did owe them some sort of explanation, feeling like I had to continue to address it and explain myself. And I realized this is my YouTube channel. They chose to click on my video, and they chose to be hateful in the comments. If they didn't get it, if they didn't understand what I was saying, that isn't my fault. I know that I didn't do anything hurtful. I didn't say anything that was damaging or problematic. The only problem with the video is that people aren't getting what I'm trying to say, and that is not my problem. If I want to explain myself, that would be a courtesy on my part. I don't owe it to you. I would choose to do it. Now, I have done that, but I feel like I've gotten something out of it too. I think it's been interesting to discuss. So it wasn't just me pandering to people, it was also me just doing something for my own sake, because I felt like if I didn't address it, it was just going to overwhelm me. And there are all sorts of things that we can do to protect ourselves from people throwing attacks our way. You can defend yourself from the attack, you can ignore the attack. But the one thing that you have to do either way is know that that person doesn't have a right to attack you. It doesn't make it okay just because you're choosing to defend yourself from it. Doesn't mean that the attack is any more valid. It just means that you want to put the truth out there, even if no one hears you. And sometimes that makes you feel better, which should always be the goal. Take care of yourself. Thank you for watching. This was a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but hopefully my video next week isn't going to be super long either. I filmed it and it was actually almost 30 minutes, but I just wasn't happy with it, so I filmed this instead. And it is about a completely different topic, but like I said, I think it's a more serious topic, and I want to give it the appropriate amount of time. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. And I do Q&As every Sunday, so we can discuss it more there. I do the Q&As as sort of a follow-up to my videos so that we can talk about the videos more in depth, and those usually go on for like 2 or 3 hours because I'm very verbose. So Yeah, have a great rest of your day or night, and hopefully this was helpful for you.